Hi, and welcome back. It's Cthulhu's little brother here, and today I want to discuss a topic I've always found fascinating and a great talking point. TCG players, a hobby versus a lifestyle. In this video, we will be referencing a lot to Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, as well as some indie games. But firstly, let's break down what I mean by a hobby versus a lifestyle. While one does not strictly mean the other, lifestyle players tend to be more competitive, while hobby players prefer casual levels of play. Lifestyle players eat, sleep, and breathe the games of their choice, but hobby players, on the other hand, may only play a few times a year. Both kinds of players may play multiple different games, but in my experience, most hobby players only play one, maybe two different games, while lifestyle players are constantly adding or removing games from the list of games they actively play. Hobby players tend to buy very little product for a game, if any at all, while most lifestyle players devote a significant amount, if not all, of their expendable income into the games of their choice. Hobby level enthusiasts may only participate in the culture and surrounding communities of their games a few times a year, while lifestyle enthusiasts will try to actively participate and partake in as many things as possible. Trading card games and tabletop games can be enjoyed in very different ways, either as a light casual hobby or as an all-consuming lifestyle. In communities for Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, and various indie games, there's often a clear divide between the occasional players and the truly devoted. One board gamer famously observed that Magic really is a lifestyle kind of game, meaning that you pretty much either do that seriously or you do something else. It doesn't leave a lot of room for both. While that might be a humorous exaggeration, it captures a real sentiment in the TCG community. For some folks, these games are just a pastime, but for others, they become a central part of life. What exactly distinguishes a hobby approach from a lifestyle approach? It often comes down to the level of time, money, and personal identity invested. A hobbyist player treats the game as one of many entertainment options, something to play now and then for fun. In contrast, a lifestyle player is deeply enfranchised in the game's ecosystem. As Magic's head designer, Mark Rosewater, explains, and franchise players see Magic as part of their identity. It's something that they do and their social circles revolve around. Their involvement goes beyond just playing occasionally. It's a defining hobby that might shape their schedules, friendships, and even self-image. By comparison, Rosewater notes that for a lot of people, Magic is just a game that they own on their shelves, no different from occasionally playing Scrabble or Monopoly. These casual fans might break out a deck once in a while or join a game night infrequently, without keeping up with the new releases or strategies. They enjoy the game, but it's not a constant presence in their daily lives. The range is huge. One end is super involved, and the other is, hey, it's a thing I have, maybe I play it once or twice a year. Most players actually fall somewhere in the middle, but these extremes illustrate the differences clearly. Notably, the majority of people who play these games are not ultra-immersed lifestyle players. In Magic's case, Rosewater estimates that over 75% of Magic players don't know things like who he is or what a Planeswalker card is, indicating they aren't plugged into the online community or deeper lore. They played Magic, but they're not the enfranchised players he speaks of. These are the folks who just enjoy the game casually without letting it take over their free time. However, the minority who are fully invested tend to have an outsized presence. They are the ones reading articles, watching streams, and attending events regularly. In fact, while they're fewer in numbers, the people who spend the most on Magic are obviously the most enfranchised players. This small core of devotees does the lion's share of buying packs, building collections, and driving the community. Every TCG has this split between the many casuals and the few diehards who treat it more than just a game. For Magic the Gathering, the world's largest TCG, the hobby versus lifestyle divide has been recognized for decades. As early as 2007, Wizards of the Coast described how Magic often becomes something you do that defines who you are. Once a player gets hooked, Magic becomes a lifestyle. Even if someone stops playing actively, they rarely stop being a Magic player at heart. The game's depth and constant evolution encourages long-term engagement. There are always new cards, new strategies, and events, which can pull players into a continuous cycle of involvement. Designer Mark Rosewater cites that if a person sticks with Magic for the first 6 months, they're likely to remain for many years. That's because Magic isn't static. It's a sprawling community and culture as much as a set of rules. Many Magic fans describe their commitment in almost romantic terms. A common sentiment is that Magic players are a bit brainwashed, that they've spent far too much time and money on something that won't pay them back. Yet they share the pride of playing the best game in the world. This captures the mindset of a lifestyle Magic the Gathering player, self-aware about the heavy investment, but passionately convinced it's worth it. These players often pour countless hours into deck building, tournament practice, or content creation. They might travel on weekends for Grand Prix, now called Magic Fest, or local Friday night Magic events, own thousands of cards, and follow every spoiler for upcoming sets. Their social media feed might be full of Magic memes and discussions. Indeed, Magic is much bigger than just the game, it's a whole community. You can spend hours reading about Magic or watching videos or discussing deck techs, or even dressing up in cosplays related to it. In short, it becomes a lifestyle activity that occupies significant mental and social space. Contrast this with the casual Magic hobbyist. A casual player might buy a pre-built deck or two, or draft with friends on occasion. Treat Magic Night as just another fun gathering, likely put in the hours to learn every nuance or obscure rule. They may not know all the card sets by name, or keep up with the competitive metas. For example, many Magic players only play Commander, a popular casual format, as kitchen table games, or they hop into a game once in a blue moon. These players enjoy Magic as a game, not as a persistent hobby. They often avoid the hefty expenses by sticking to cheaper budget decks or using whatever cards they happen to have. As a community member of MTG Salvation advised, you can either play casually and have fun, it is a great game, or you can sink a ton of time and money into it to be competitive. In other words, you can absolutely enjoy Magic on a limited budget and schedule, just don't expect to be at the cutting edge of competition. The trade-off for a casual Magic fan is that they might not win often as at formal events, or have the latest powerful cards, but they also avoid treating the game like a second job. Money is a big differentiator here. Magic can be played on the cheap casual level, but at the competitive / lifestyle level, it tends to demand a significant financial outlay. As that same forum poster noted, becoming competitive means continually investing a ton of time and effort and capital. Another longtime player pointed out that a big change over the years is that the 14-year-old kid that used to not be able to afford to dump $500 on a deck now has adult jobs and money so they can. In other words, many early Magic fans grew up and turned their childhood hobby into a spendy adult passion. Now they can afford premium cards and tournament travel. It's not unusual for an enfranchised Magic player to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars per year on new cards, accessories, and event fees. The upside from this is a rich, ongoing experience and community. The downside is that Magic becomes an expensive habit. Meanwhile, a casual player might spend little or nothing for months at a time, content with a few booster packs or a $20 pre-constructed deck here and there. And those diehards who go all in share both the embarrassing knowledge of how much they've invested and the joy it brings. For hobbyists, Magic is just an awesome game. For lifestyle players, it's a major life outlet. Like Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be played very casually or with intense dedication, but the spectrum in Yu-Gi-Oh! Often stands out because the game's audience ranges from kids to adults. On one end, you have casual fans who maybe get into Yu-Gi-Oh! Through the animes or manga or seeing YouTube videos. They might buy a starter deck or structure deck and duel their friends at home or at school for fun. This requires minimal commitment. In fact, the entry point for casual Yu-Gi-Oh! Is intentionally easy. It's easy to buy a starter deck and have a few fun games with friends. Many players start this way, just enjoying the flashy monsters and nostalgic appeal without diving deeper. They might only play at home or occasionally attend a local free play meetup or try to play Master Duel. For them, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of their hobbies and not necessarily a primary focus. On the other extreme, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can become a full-on lifestyle. It is notoriously demanding in that form. Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Players must constantly adapt to new card sets and changing ban lists, which often means continuously acquiring new cards to keep their decks tournament ready. Top tier cards can be very expensive due to rarity and high-end demand. The competitive minefield gets expensive, and they don't call it a lifestyle game for nothing. It's so expensive you won't be able to afford other hobbies. This humorous exaggeration contains truth. Serious Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists often funnel a large portion of their disposable income into the game, from buying booster boxes and shirts of key cards, to paying travel costs for events, to buying expensive singles. If Magic players spend hundreds, competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists might spend similar amounts or more, especially during peak competitive seasons. Beyond money, time, and travel, a hallmark of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s lifestyle play is long-term commitment. Yu-Gi-Oh! May have been marketed to children originally, but many who picked up cards as kids never quit. Konami has observed that many children who started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Over a decade ago or more are still playing as they enter college and start careers. What begins as a casual grade school pastime can turn into a long-lasting passion through adulthood. Some of these players shift from casual kitchen table play from their youth to highly competitive play later on. They carry with them the nostalgia and love for the game's characters, but also embrace the deeper strategic challenge as they grow older. This transition is so common that Yu-Gi-Oh!'s community now includes plenty of adult professionals and college students for whom dueling is a primary hobby. For the casual Yu-Gi-Oh fan, however, the game might just be about enjoying the cool monsters and the thrill of pulling a rare card now and then. Casual players often stick to self-imposed limits to avoid the rat race of deck optimization. They might play with a fixed collection of cards, say only using cards from the era they watched on TV, or focus on a fun theme deck rather than the meta deck of the moment. Yu-Gi-Oh has a reputation for an unforgiving competitive scene. So many duelists opt out of that and keep it to just a hobby. An article on TCG Player reassures that you don't absolutely 100% have to play in the competitive events all the time, and it doesn't make you any less of a duelist if you don't. In other words, it's perfectly fine to be a casual duelist, collecting and playing at your own pace. These hobbyists dip in and out. They might attend a local tournament once in a while or play on digital platforms like Master Duel, but they don't live and breathe the game daily. Yu-Gi-Oh's indie subculture of fan-made formats and house rules also caters to casual play, giving people ways to enjoy the cards without the high stakes. This flexibility means Yu-Gi-Oh can be either a casual nostalgia trip or an all-consuming competitive pursuit, depending on what one's approach. Not all card games have massive player bases like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! But even in the indie TCG scene, the hobby versus lifestyle split emerges. In fact, with smaller games, the dedicated player often has an even more pronounced role because they are the ones keeping the game alive. A great example of this is a game I love, System Gate. System Gate is created by a small indie group and developer called Speed Robo Games. System Gate has a very tight-knit and devoted community that plays in person and online as frequently as possible. For example, I am an event organizer for System Gate Online. We host weekly and monthly tournaments in order to have players to have a casual and competitive outlet to play the game online through webcam and tabletop official mods. Many indie TCG games thrive from people like this and communities that keep the game running. Many smaller TCGs or living card games have a dedicated core of fans who treat it as a serious hobby, even as casual players drift away. For instances, when a new indie TCG launches via Kickstarter, it might attract a crowd of casual buyers, but the game's long-term survival will hinge on a handful of enthusiasts who organize playgroups, create online content, and keep the excitement going. As a commentary on Dicebreaker put it, collectible card games require a lot of investment and a growing community for them to thrive. If that investment doesn't materialize, casual interest alone isn't enough, and the game fades. But when it does, when enough people treat the game as a lifestyle, an indie title can punch above its weight class. Flesh and Blood is a recent example, a new indie card game that quickly cultivated a tournament scene and a devoted player base who travel for it, similar to Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Pros. In the indie scene, the line between hobbyist and lifestyle player can often be the line between a game that quickly exists and one that actively thrives. Casual players might buy an indie game out of the curiosity and play occasionally, but the lifestyle players are the ones starting Discord communities, making podcasts or videos, and holding meetup nights at the local stores. They effectively become ambassadors. The cost for them is time and sometimes money. Indie games can be hard to find, so importing cards or supporting multiple Kickstarters add up. But the benefit is a tight-knit community and a deep sense of ownership and an identity with the game. As seen with many indie TCG games, these passionate niches can even outlast official support purely on community energy. Plenty of out-of-print games have loyal followers and have some that even add their own expansions to the game and hold tournaments frequently. A common question is how someone goes from being a casual enjoyer of a game to a full-fledged lifestyle devotee. Often, it's a gradual process, a mix of personal motivation and community influence. One pathway is through competitive ambition. A player starts attending local tournaments just for fun, then finds themselves improving and wanting to win more, and step by step they start practicing regularly, investing into top tier cards. As one Magic forum poster put it frankly, if you don't feel like continuously investing a ton of time, effort, and capital into the game, then you're not going to be a truly competitive player. Though you don't have to be a competitive player to have fun. Those who catch the competitive bug often ramp up their commitment quickly. Winning can be addicting, and in TCGs, that usually demands deeper engagement, so casual Friday night Magic players might decide to grind for Pro Tour invites, and suddenly Magic goes from a Friday hobby to an everyday practice. Another path to lifestyle play is through social connections. Many players start playing casually with a group of friends, and as that friend group itself becomes more invested, everyone feeds each other's enthusiasm. If your buddies are building new decks every week or traveling to conventions, you might dive in deeper to keep up. Conversely, finding a welcoming community can pull someone from solo casual play into a more involved role. For example, a Yu-Gi-Oh fan might only duel at home until they discover a local card shop. There, they might meet other duelists, maybe join a Discord, a team, and before long, they're trading cards, tuning tuning decks nightly and planning weekends around events. The game shifts from a solitary pastime to a key part of one's social life, at which point it often becomes a lifestyle. As Mark Rosewater observed, the most engaged players often have their social circles revolved around the game. When your closest friends are all your Friday night Magic or local Yu-Gi-Oh scene, it's natural to spend more and more of your time on that hobby. It's worth noting that treating a TCG or tabletop games as a lifestyle is neither inherently good nor bad. It depends on a personal preference and balance. There are wonderful benefits to deep involvement. You become part of a vibrant community, hone skills, and often form lasting friendships. Longtime Magic players often reminisce about all the travel memories and fun from turning the game into a lifestyle. Likewise, hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh duelists may feel a strong sense of accomplishment from mastering each format and aspiring for victory with the discipline of a competitive mindset. And as the Yu-Gi-Oh Parent Guide highlights, even as kids turn into adults, continuing to play the game can be a fun and social way to stay connected with peers and keep their inner child alive. The identity aspect of proudly calling oneself a Magic player or a duelist can be fulfilling and a confidence boosting, much like identifying as a musician or an athlete within a hobby. On the other hand, there are pitfalls if the balance tips too far. A casual hobby is easy to keep fun because you engage on your own terms. But once a game becomes a lifestyle, players sometimes struggle with burnout or the grind. For instance, chasing every new Magic set can become tiring and expensive when there are multiple releases each year. Some Magic veterans choose to step back and become more casual after years of high-level play, precisely to rediscover the joy without the pressure. In the Yu-Gi-Oh world, it's not uncommon to hear duelists taking a break after an intense tournament season, then coming back when they miss the game, illustrating an ebb and flow between lifestyle and casual engagement. The key for many is finding a personal sweet spot, enough investment to feel rewarded, but not so much that the game turns into a source of stress. A community discussion often revolves around respecting both approaches. A casual fan might jokingly tease the cardboard crack addiction of a hardcore player, while the devoted player might poke fun at casuals for running janky decks. But at the end of the day, everyone is enjoying the same game in their own way. As one TCG commenter put it, the debate of competitive versus casual is somewhat silly because both types of players love the game, just with different emphasis. In healthy communities, the lifestyle players help organize events and content that even casual folks can appreciate, and the casual base provides fresh blood and a reminder to not take things too seriously. Trends do show that more players are leaning into the lifestyle side today than in the past. With the growth of professional events, streaming, and the sheer popularity of these games, it's easier now to make a TCG your main hobby. There are more opportunities to play often, things like Magic Arena and Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Online, and more products to buy year-round, which can nudge hobbyists towards deeper involvement. The industry has, in some sense, embraced the lifestyle game model, designing games not as a one-off purchase, but as an ongoing experience. Magic, in particular, has been called a lifestyle game by its own designers because it continuously offers new content and ways to engage. This can be exciting if you're all in, but it also means players have to continuously decide how much they want to commit. In summary, trading card games and mini tabletop games offer a flexible experience. You can enjoy them casually at the kitchen table, or you can let them become a defining part of your life. The casual versus lifestyle divide is evident in how players behave and what they prioritize. The casual hobbyist plays for simple fun, often on a budget and on an irregular schedule. The lifestyle player invests significant amount of time, money, and passion, perhaps gaining a sense of community and identity from the game. Both paths are valid. As the community often advises newcomers, you should engage at whatever level keeps it fun for you. If you're happy just dueling your buddy with your favorite old school cards, great. If you want to spend every weekend at tournaments and build a following on Twitch streaming matches, that's awesome too. These games have space for everyone. As long as you're enjoying the experiences, whether at a lifestyle or hobby level, the heart of the game remains the same. My journey into trading card games started like a lot of other people's, through family. I was introduced to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering by an older cousin. We'd play casually on the weekends whenever I visited, and at that time, it was just a fun way to bond. But everything shifted when my mom bought me my very first starter deck. That was the spark that pulled me from being a hobbyist into something deeper. From that moment on, I was hooked. I wasn't just playing casually anymore. I wanted to understand the games, get better at them, and learn as much as I could. I started building decks, studying the rules, and keeping up with the new cards, really chasing that next level. Like a lot of players who fall in love with the TCG world, I moved into lifestyle territory without even realizing it. Trading card games became one of the most consistent and meaningful parts of my lifestyle through my teens. But as I got older, late teens into early adulthood, things shifted. Time, money, and real-life responsibilities made it harder to keep up with the competitive metas and constant card releases. I couldn't chase the games the way I used to, and for a while, I thought that meant I had to step away entirely. That's when I stumbled into the indie card game scene, and it changed everything for me. What I found in indie TCGs was a totally different approach to being a lifestyle level player. These games didn't demand that I stay on top of a weekly ban list or invest hundreds to stay competitive. Instead, they offered me something even more meaningful: the chance to be part of a game's foundation itself. In indie communities, the players aren't just active, they're essential. The game lives or dies by the people who show up, share it, and keep it growing. That kind of environment creates a deeper level of engagement. You're not just playing the game, you're helping shape its future. Whether it's giving feedback to designers, running local events, or creating content around it, being part of an indie scene makes you feel like you're inside the game, not just observing from the outside. It's a kind of dedication that big games rarely ask of their players, but when they do, it's usually through corporate channels or high-level competition. Indie games, by contrast, invite everyone to contribute and care. Thanks to this realization, I've built some incredible friendships and forged real bonds through the indie scene. Relationships I've never would have formed if I hadn't made that shift. I learned that being a lifestyle level TCG player doesn't have to mean being on the Pro Tour or chasing the meta. It can mean building something with others, being a part of a community that keeps a game alive, and finding new meaning in the games you love. That experience is a big part of why I started this channel. To talk about card games, yes, but also to celebrate the people who live them, build things around them, and shape them into something greater. That's what this space is all about. I would love to hear about any games that you are deeply invested in, whether you're a hobbyist or you're a lifestyle level player. I'd love to hear why you're a hobbyist and a lifestyle level player. And until next time, I'll see you later.